You're listening to the PR Wind Down Podcast, the show for public relations professionals who are ready to see real change in the PR industry. We are your hosts, April White and Laura Schooler. Let's get ready to wind down. So Laura, we have a very, very exciting guest in our waiting room today. Should
Who's
I let her
that?
in? We're going to find out in 2 seconds.
Oh, I'm excited. Yes.
Okay, let's do it. Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. So nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
We are so excited to have you on our show today.
I got up this morning. I'm like, oh, finally. It's been forever.
Did you? You did not. You did not.
I did. No, I did. I was like, yes. And then I was like, should I come with wine?
That is
yeah,
so
that's the joke.
Cute. We never actually have wine on the show.
Of course not.
No.
Dunkin' Donuts iced tea.
Boring. Water.
All right. So our guest today is Gini Dietrich, and she is the founder, CEO, and author of Spin Sucks, the host of the Spin Sucks podcast, and the author of the book of the same name, Spin Sucks. She is also the creator of the PESO Model and has crafted a certification for it in partnership with Syracuse University. And in addition, as if that's not enough, she is the co-author of Marketing in the Round, the co-host of Inside PR, and the co-host of the Agency Leadership Podcast. Whoa, what a resume. That's like,
and wait,
we took up half the interview just like listing your credentials. I'm joking.
And do you have a manual typewriter behind you?
I do. That was my grandfather's.
that's not a fake background.
That's really, yeah.
Nice.
I love it. Well, we are so excited to have you on, and I'm very interested to see what you're most passionate about now. I know you recently wrote a blog article about, your thoughts about AI and PR, but I also want to dig into this PESO model and find out a little bit more about what that means. It looks like Laura also has a question.
Yeah. No,
Laura's raising her hand.
I just have
like me. Yes, Laura, it's your turn.
Okay. The teacher.
I just want to tell you that a few years ago, I was working with somebody and they were like, the PESO model. And I was like, the what? And I had no idea that it was you. I see your name all the time.
That's scary.
So there's that, which is amazing to me. And then also, I've always wanted to know, where did you get the Spin Sucks from?
Shall we start there? As a PR professional, when you tell people that that's what you do for a living, what do they normally say in response?
Samantha Jones. I don't know.
Yeah, like, oh, Samantha Jones, Sex and the City, party planner, spin doctor, you're a liar. And you're just like, no, it's not what I do at all.
Right.
Hollywood has completely ruined it. And we were thinking about starting a blog because we wanted to test it out to see how it worked. So we better understood it so that it could be a tool in our toolbox for clients. And we were sitting in our conference room and I had this young whippersnapper intern who was like, yeah, we should totally do it. And we should do this, we should do that. And we should call it Spin Sucks. And I was like, that's the best idea ever. Yes, let's do that. So Tom Short, it was his idea. Thank you, Tom.
And I'm so on board with that Spin Sucks. I mean, that's actually the impetus of Trust Relations, as you may know, is that I was like, okay, the whole industry needs a makeover, like a rebrand, because PR itself has gotten this really bad rap, which it deserves. But it's still an important, part of the world that needs to be done correctly. And I think it just needs an overhaul. So I was like, how about Trust 100%. Relations? Set up
I love that.
Relations.
Yes, love it. It's
so we are like,
because
we're
right.
lockstep on that. Yeah.
And you're right. It is deserved.
So Laura, the second part of your 2-part question was more about the PESO model, right?
Yeah. I just can't believe I'm talking to the person who, created it.
That's hilarious.
I just thought it was something that existed. I did, so the fact that you're the one who
a lot of people think that it just exists. And it's funny because I hired a new attorney
it's like
about
Jell-O
a year.
or Kleenex.
Right. Or Q-tips. I will tell you, it's the 10-year anniversary this year of it. So you weren't that far behind.
Yeah, I was pretty far behind.
Congratulations.
No,
That's like
because it took us a really long time to get
people to,
yeah.
I guess the spin didn't suck.
So where okay, so tell us about the origin story. Where did that originate? Like, where did this idea come from? And then tell us just a little, like, elevator pitch. What does it entail? And
Okay.
how do you get certified? Sorry, it's like, I guess that was 3
Oh my
questions in
gosh.
one.
Are you sure? How long do we want to be here? You both know this. Much of the work that we do, the backbone of our business is media relations. And when I started my agency, it was very media relations focused, heavy. And I started in 2007. And in 2008, the bottom fell out of the economy and everything went to hell. And one of the conversations I continually had,
Yeah,
this is great. You guys are getting us in the Wall Street Journal and USA Today and the New York Times. Now you're not doing anything. So we don't want to pay you. And it was like, well, we just got all of this. So we have to like build up to that again. And they like clients just don't understand. And because as an industry, we don't do a good job of measuring our work to things that matter to a business, to a CEO,
correct.
we had a really hard time. So we had these peaks and valleys. And so all of this stuff happened at once. That and the recession and social media came out and blogging became a thing. HubSpot introduced inbound marketing. Like all this stuff came out at once. And it was like, wait a second.
Woo!
Is there an opportunity here to leverage some of this, both to fill in those valleys so I don't have to keep having that conversation with clients about what are you doing for me next? And to measure the work that we do in the same way that marketers do. And so I was writing Spin Sucks the book, and it's actually funny now because I'm doing a second edition right now. And I really thought in my naive little brain, I thought that I could just go and update it. And it's things have changed so much in 10 years that
You're like, I'll just tweak it. It'll take me 4 hours.
no. But it was like a blip in that book was the peso model and how we were
Wow.
using it. And now the second edition, it will lead with that. This is sort of how we're thinking about it right now. We're
Mhm,
thinking
mhm.
about earned and shared and owned and paid media and how you use it from a communications perspective, not a marketing perspective,
Mhm.
and measure your efforts as well.
But wait, that's really interesting. Most people think once you deploy everything outside of the E, that it does become marketing. So how do you keep PESO inside communications?
It can belong to both. But marketing is more focused on like product and brand and messaging from that perspective. And we're focused on relationships. So let them use it to generate leads and build the brand and do all that stuff. And we'll use it to build trust and authority and relationships and brand storytelling. So while the model and the framework works for both, the outcomes are different.
What happens when you face the clients who inevitably ask you, or prospective clients who say, okay, so how is this going to drive the bottom line in sales? How can you map back this authority building and credibility building to an actual return on investment?
Usually I make a smart aleck comment like, you you can't. Like 50% of what you spend is going to be attributed and 50% is not. You're going to know if it's working because you know if you have market share, you know if you
Mhm,
have a good brand. Your sales team will say, "Gosh, when we call people, they know who we are." So
mhm,
anecdotally, you'll know, but about 50% of what you spend on PR, you can't measure. That's not true. You can, but it'll cost you $100,000 and a year long, like all of the stuff, right?
Right.
So just plan to have 50% over here that's focused on building the brand in a way that people will take the phone call when the sales team calls. And then the other
mhm,
50% we can measure depending on what the goals are. If it's
mhm.
generating leads, if it's revenue, if it's more volunteers for a nonprofit, if it's fundraising, whatever it happens to be, we can measure that stuff just like marketing can because it's all digital and it's all coming to us from a data perspective.
Right. It's the hardest part of PR, I think. It's
I
the
think
biggest.
right now I've been finding some of the hardest parts of just traditional PR is getting anywhere amidst the economy and the election. It
Yes.
is
So,
crazy.
yeah.
Like
Yep.
I'm not even getting no's. I'm just getting
Nothing.
ignored left, right,
Yep.
and center.
Yep. Yep.
And today, like
100%.
a reporter just didn't show up, and like all that's more than
No!
yeah. It was
Oh.
okay. They had reached out to us too.
Oh!
Right. I
Yeah,
mean,
that's
so I feel
terrible.
like that kind of stuff right now is happening a lot more than normal.
Mhm.
I mean, it
Yeah,
always happens, but
we're working with clients and saying, listen, like this is going to happen. You're right. The economy, inflation, the election, all this stuff. I mean, it's affecting our businesses too. One of the things that we say is like, if you want to do an op-ed or you want to do some thought leadership, let's do that on LinkedIn. Because what we're finding is that a lot of journalists are paying attention to that.
mhm.
And then they're caling you and saying, hey,
Yes.
I'd like to do a piece on this, or I'd like to use you as a
Yeah,
source
can
for
we
this.
talk to
So
you? Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
so it's kind
Yep.
of the back doors way of doing it, but it that tends to work almost better than our traditional
Just
pitching.
pitching.
Yeah.
Mhm.
What interesting. Well, so the thing with LinkedIn is you can't, again, you still can't force it to work, right?
Right,
Like
right,
Yeah.
just like earned, you can't force it to work.
right,
So, you
right,
got to always put that caveat, I guess.
right.
But at least it's out there, which is on LinkedIn.
And you can
Somebody will
share
see
it
it.
and you can link to it, and like there's a lot of
And if you
different
put
ways you can get
money
it
behind it, you
quick
can,
and boost it. Yep. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. Yep.
So what I want to know is what are you seeing in terms of like the current climate of PR and where do you see it going
Ah.
that you're keeping an eye on and sort of, oh, this might be important or the next thing or something to look out for.
Well, I do love artificial intelligence, I'm not gonna lie. I think it's freaking amazing. And I like the efficiencies it gives you are just phenomenal. And so I love it. So I do think capitalizing on AI in new and interesting ways is where our industry is headed. I don't think it's going to replace us. I do think that we're going to be better at prompting it and getting more out of it so that we
Mm.
can be more efficient, but that will allow us to
Mhm.
work on what I call the back burner stuff, the stuff that we've always wanted to do that we just can't get to because we either don't have the budget or the time. Now we're going to have
AI
both.
will do it, right?
Right? Yeah. I have a blog post coming out about, you know, how search has become really fragmented. So now you have Google and Yahoo and Bing, and you have AI and, Search GPT, and you have people using their phones and people using their voice assistants. Like it's so fragmented. And so people are
Mhm.
starting to freak out about, well, how do I create content to show up in all of those places? And one
Mhm.
of the things I think is really important for us all to remember is the tools change, but the strategy doesn't. So if
Mhm.
you always create the best content for your topic on the internet and you have the best thought leadership in the industry and your clients or your senior leadership team or your subject matter experts are willing to participate and they're able to bring in their expertise and their experience, it won't matter
Mhm.
because you're already creating the best content that people are going to want to have, to read, to watch, to listen to, and search algorithms will find it no matter what. So
Mhm.
while all this stuff is going on, I think we should remember that the tools change a lot and fast, but the strategy doesn't.
I mean, wow. Yeah, I can't believe you just said all of that so efficiently.
It's like anything in life, right? High quality will always prevail,
That's
but
right.
we get distracted by all these new technologies, but everything always comes back to. That's what I always say. I always say to my Star Wars. I'm always like, you will know you can go back to Star Wars. I guess is the
I
Bible to me. I can go
love it.
back to Star Wars and recenter myself, and then I know how to move forward.
Always, but not the new ones.
No, I mean like the
Star Wars,
original
Empire Strikes
first
Back,
The
and
one.
original.
Return of
Yes,
the
Yes.
Jedi.
yes,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
right.
OG, yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important point is I think as you grow in your career and you get used to doing things the way that you do them, it's really hard for us to break out of our comfort
Mhm.
boxes. So being curious, learning about the new technologies, understanding how they work from a business perspective are some of the
Hmm.
smartest things you can do.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we have a sort of famous choose your own adventure
Great.
question at the end. So one is, what do we not ask you yet that we should have or that you wish we had? And that's one option. Option two is, what would you like to ask us since we put you on the hot seat the whole time?
Oh, yes. Okay. I have two questions.
Okay.
Well, number one, I wish you had asked about my intern.
I
I
so
mean,
oh,
I did
totally.
see the dog in the background and it was
Yes.
outside in the grassy area and then came
And she
inside
came
and just
inside. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
Sleeps
cute.
in her spot. Okay. No, I have two
So cute.
questions for you. The first question is, what do you think is the future for PR?
Skywriting.
Ever the jokester.
What comes around goes around.
I mean, I
Let's go
like
with
it.
skywriting. With
Skywriting?
skywriting.
Yeah, I like it.
So one of the things that I am keeping an eye on and am very concerned about is the credibility of the media because
Yeah.
of the role that it plays in building
Yep.
credibility for brands. And
Love that.
so I talk about that quite a bit, but it is something that I'm definitely keeping my eye on, as well as this fractionalization of media that is leading to more and more disparate experiences of reality, which
Mhm.
is very concerning to me, not just as a publicist and an American, but just a human in general, because that
Yeah.
it's I think it's very frightening. I do think it's good that people can, get all kinds of information and it's not being only funneled through three different networks. I think that that's positive. But, and I'm over exaggerating to make this point, but there's a population that's watching Fox News, Newsmax, the Steve Bannon show, whatever, and they have
Yep.
like a whole different, like they're living inside of a whole other set of facts and opinions,
Yep.
and it's creating this bubble reality that they live in, and the same is absolutely true on the left. And
I
I
have,
obviously don't want to get political, but this is
yeah,
just
yeah.
obviously
Yep.
we're living in a political moment right now, and it's like
Right.
I
really
have that
heightened.
conversation with my dad where I'm like, Dad,
Yeah,
but don't you understand that the other side thinks exactly what you're thinking from
right.
the other point of view? And he's like, but how could they? You just, yeah.
Right. And so that to me is the most concerning, because then you just have this like reality
Yep.
collision,
Yep.
Yeah.
and I don't know how we as a society, journalists, publicists, right? We're all kind of in this media world, communications world together. I don't know how you bridge the gap between that. So that to me I think is something I don't have an answer to, but it's something that I'm looking at very carefully, because it's like, as it stands, it seems to be a growing thing that we as publicists are going to be up against in the
I think you're
future.
right. Axios did a piece a couple of months ago, early summer maybe, that talked about this, and they cited 21 different groups of media.
Mhm.
So the far right, the far left, social media, like all of these bubbles. So if you're looking at
Mhm.
21 groups that have several types inside
Mhm.
each, it's impossible. You can't. And you're right. If you have clients who work with people, no
Right.
matter how they vote or what they think, right?
Right.
How do you reach across the aisle to ensure that you're getting your message out there?
And then there's the different generations, right? That like,
Yeah.
Right. That's
I
a
think
really
it's
good point. Yep.
generational. Like all of the silos aren't just left, right, red, blue, but then it's like, when were you born? Where were you
Yep.
born?
Yep.
What
Yep.
gender are you? I mean, that's been continuing ever since, cable TV, right, came out, I guess. I don't know. And people were sort of like, oh, I watch sports. Instead of like, oh, I watch ABC and it has sports
Yeah.
and TV and news. I just watch sports,
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's like where those things started, and then the internet and blah blah blah. So I mean, again,
Yeah.
this is something, it's not going away. It's going to continue. So how do you adapt to it, and how do you,
It's hard.
I
It's
don't know,
it's
use it?
yeah,
There's
I
only
You
a
think
have
it's
few
to
people who
recenter
can.
yourself on Star Wars.
Star Wars. I
There
think
you go. Go
and
back to
It's the
skywriting.
Star
answer.
Wars.
Skywriting.
Skywriting and Star Wars. The answer.
Everybody can see the
Everybody,
sky. Everyone
right?
sees the sky.
I don't think that Star Wars was, polarizing.
It was
No,
not
it was not.
until they came out with the new ones. And then
Right, and then it became that. Okay, I know, I'm so sorry. I just looked at the clock and I was like, I know we're at time, but you have a second question for us.
I
Do you
do. Can I ask it?
Yes, you can
Yeah,
ask it.
okay.
Yes.
All right. My second question is, what have you learned from podcasting?
I definitely felt much more confident in my ability to write, and suddenly I'm being put on the spot to say things, and I felt like I needed to prepare in advance, and I didn't have all the answers, and I should have.
Uh,
And
yeah.
I found that really intimidating at the beginning, and I think I was quite awkward when he started. But what I have experienced is that my ability to do that has helped me immensely when it comes to talking to prospective clients, because then I'm
Ah,
much more comfortable. I show up and I don't feel like I have to have, 4 hours of preparation. Not that I
sure.
ever could afford to do
Sure.
that, or, but it's like
Right.
I don't show up with this feeling of being behind. I'm like, no, I have the answers. I just have
You
to be
know
able
what
to
you're doing.
access them in
Yeah.
my brain. I know what
Yep.
I'm doing. Let's just let somebody put me on the spot and then feel more comfortable in that moment listening. Because I think a lot of times when you're feeling like,
Yep.
what am I going to say? What am I going to say? You're not really listening. You're not present. You're just kind of in the back of your brain trying to find and catalog all the things that you might want to ask and say. So I feel like it's really helped me with that. and just
That's
being,
interesting.
yeah, and even just in life in general as an extension of that, because that's the highest pressure conversation you have. And then, oh, now I can just have a conversation with anybody and feel like if I have something that I need to chat with them about that's sensitive, I don't feel like I have to have all of the things figured out in
Yep.
advance.
I love that.
I mean, to
So that's
apply it to other parts of your life, that's great. I mean, isn't that you're
that's the
learning,
goal,
April?
right?
You're learning and applying and getting better.
That's right. That's right.
You're
That's the hope.
growing. I
That's
love it.
right.
What I have learned is that I should have had my own radio show a long time ago.
I agree with that.
I've done a lot of podcasts. I've been on the radio. I've never gotten paid really, so like it would have been I've talked about it
It's
before.
never
It's
too late.
never too late.
I
I was
guess
just gonna
you
say
know
The
that.
Kelsey brothers just got $100 million. You can do it too.
I've talked about it before on the show. I listened to Howard Stern when I was a very little kid, and he was my idol for a long, long, long time. So I always wanted to be Howard Stern,
But
basically.
he's such a great interviewer
I
that's a
know,
good, yeah.
but yeah, that's what I learned. That I missed
I agree.
my
Let's
creative
let's make that
calling.
You
happen.
didn't miss it. You didn't miss it.
I have had people, not many, I mean, literally maybe two, be like, wait a minute, are you? Because I used to do baseball before April and I did
Oh
this
my
podcast.
gosh.
I had my own baseball podcast and I was on a sports show on WFMU and I did another podcast. So I've been doing like this stuff, but mostly talking about the Yankees.
I love it. That's amazing.
All right. Well, I know we're way over and I'm so sorry, but I would love before you make your exit to let everybody know where they can find you and anything else that you want to plug on your way out.
Oh, well, that's easy. Spinsucks.com. I mean, you only said it like 25 times, so I just end it with Spinsucks.
All right. Amazing. Amazing. And when can we expect your new book out?
It's supposed to be finished writing by the end of the year, so
Okay.
probably early second quarter next year.
Okay. Well, let's have you back on to promote your book
Oh, thank you.
when you're ready.
Thank
yeah.
you.
Just keep
I
us
would love to
posted.
come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we would love that. Okay, good. All right. Well, it's so nice to have you. Thank you again for your time.
Thank
And
you.
we look forward to doing part 2 hopefully sooner than later.
Yay! Sounds good.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.
See you
Thanks.
later.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So, Laura, you asked about of all of the things happening in the news, what caught
Yeah.
my eye?
Yeah,
But in
there's a lot.
actuality, there's something that caught your eye.
Oh, you're right.
So what happened with this Colorado guy that was left behind
So he
by
was
coworkers on a hiking retreat?
yeah, he was like part of a group of employees and they
Yeah.
gathered in the morning to hike on Mount Shavano, which is over 14,000 foot peak. So the crew was hiking together and then they split up, but somehow this guy was left on his own, like one group here, one group there, and then this dude by himself. And he went up to the summit by himself and then like got lost trying to go down and had his cell phone and was like, sending messages and they knew where he was, but then he got disoriented and then he fell and he hurt himself. Anyway, the fact that he had a cell phone ended up saving him and they did find him and he lived, but it took until like 9 p.m. or something that night. So he was like lost in the freezing, stormy, mountainous wilderness for, I don't know, 12 hours or something.
That's terrible.
Talk about team building. Why would you leave? This is the least team building thing I ever heard. And
no, it's not funny. I'm not laughing.
I know. So what was supposed to be a fun office retreat in the Colorado mountains became a dangerous event after this guy gets left behind. I was once beckoned to the headquarters of a job that I had. They said, and we will have a fun outing after work that, the day that you get here. And we'll all go to such and such a bar. It's outdoors. It's really great. And then, we can hang out and have some drinks and you can talk to, your colleagues and get to know people better. And I was like, okay, great. Now this is pre-cell phone or very early cell phone days. So you weren't like texting. You didn't have like maps on your phone or anything like that. And I'm in a place where I didn't live and I hadn't been to as an adult. So I'm working away. And I look up and this one woman who was, worked at the company from the headquarter office was like, wait, were you supposed to go to the bar with them? And I said, yeah, that was the whole point of me coming. And she's like, they already left.
Wait, what?
I was like, what? She's like, oh my God, I can't believe it totally figures. And she's like, it's so ridiculous. Yes, they're gone. They all left. They left you.
Oh, no.
So I don't have a car. I don't know where I am. I don't know where I'm going. Nothing.
How were you so late that they'd already left?
No, I wasn't. I was just sitting in the middle of the office working, and they all just left without like saying, "Come on, Laura, we're going." They just left the office and didn't tell me they were leaving and left without me for the event that was supposed to be because I was in town.
Wow.
And it was not a place like New York where you could just walk outside and, walk a few blocks or jump on the subway. It was like somewhere you had to drive. And I had no car. So I can't even remember. I did make it there. I can't remember if this woman drove me there or if somebody called me a cab or something. And I showed up and I was like, hi. And they were like, oh, yeah, sorry about that.
Wow.
So anyway, this is probably not as bad as getting left in the Colorado mountains, but it reminded me of that.
Probably. Come on, Laura.
I don't know. It hurt me. I still remember it clearly.
I mean, your
But
life wasn't in danger.
that's true. Their life was in danger when I was. So what I'm wondering is this whole idea of like team building and sometimes what I like to call forced fun
Mhm.
in work scenarios where you're supposed to like become pals, I guess,
Mhm.
trusted colleagues with your workmates. A lot of times they go very wrong. And I also equate it a little bit to what's going on with Amazon, where they're making everybody go back into the office 5 days a week. And I don't necessarily disagree with some of the sentiment behind get your butt back to work. However, there's something very I'm the teacher and you're a bad student about you need to be forced to do this and you need to be forced to do that. It's very antiquated, it's very distrustful,
Mhm.
and one of my biggest pet peeves in life is when you're young and you're in school and one kid is bad, so the whole class has to stay after. Back in my day, they did that all the time, and it would drive me crazy. Why am I responsible for some maniac who won't listen to me anyway, right? Some people slack at work, right? Or some people don't like, try to engage with their colleagues. Then you're forced into this unnatural because I said so,
Mhm.
because we say it's a good idea sort of scenario.
Mhm.
So now that I've been negative, and this poor guy, I guess, almost died. I
I
mean,
I don't know why we wanted to talk about this, but keep going. It's like so awful. I'm also still trying to figure out the PR connection.
well, it was a PR firm, my story, but it's also so Amazon
Mhm.
just got a lot of bad PR for forcing people back into the office, right? People are freaking out. A lot of
Yes.
their employees are rebelling. They're saying, forget it, I'm going to quit and go back to school. We were promised this and now it's that, the whole thing. And so this company, Beasley, that had their employees go on this mountain hike, which is, I mean, that's pretty heavy duty. I guess my question is what is the best foot forward on these sorts of issues to not only address your workforce and facilitate engagement and teamwork and enthusiasm, right, for your company, while also creating goodwill for the company?
Mhm.
Because those things leak out into the news, as all of these stories have.
I mean, I think it still comes back to authenticity
Hmm.
because so many of those things are band-aids for a culture that is not actually fostering teamwork and team spirit. And so it's like, oh, we need to do triage because people aren't connecting. So let's do this forced togetherness thing to try to patch it up.
Hmm.
Or
How are we
almost
how are we
like
gonna
Or it's
Right.
disingenuous because it's the thing that they think that they just have to organize and do, even though nobody actually wants to do that, and
Nobody
there's
asked.
not and no yeah, nobody's interested in actually, like, spending time together in this forced way. And that's been my experience with the exception of what we've done for trust relations, but my previous experiences with those things was always this kind of forced togetherness where you're supposed to all look and act happy, and somehow, spending 4 hours together on the beach is gonna do that, which is different than what we did for trust relations. In general, a culture is already very inclusive and friendly, and people are welcome to be themselves, and it's connected in all of the ways that you want it to be. And then when we did the retreat in person, it was like, oh my god, I finally get to meet you in person, I'm so excited about it.
Right.
Not like, oh great, now we have to like go do this thing. I mean, at least for me, I'm hoping that was true for everyone else, but at least for me it was not like,
Well,
oh god, we
part
have
of
to
it
gotta go
is
do this thing now with everyone, like, yay.
part of it is that the people who work for you get to work wherever they need to or want to, right?
Yes,
So they're living their lives and they're taking care of their lives while they are working for you wherever it is that they are. So
totally.
then it's almost like to have this retreat is like you said, is like this amazing
It's a
coming
treat.
together. Right.
Yeah,
It's a
it's actually a
it's a
treat.
retreat, a retreat.
It's a treat. The retreat is a treat.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like a vacation. It's where, you're going to meet these, amazing, mostly women that you have, but not always, that you want to know because it hasn't been rammed down your throat and you've sort of organically, like you said, or authentically gotten to know them through work and through,
Yes.
other means. It reminds me also of like, the whole team builder. We're going to teach everybody that I've had it, and I'm not going to name any companies. Everybody had to get together to, learn the new whatever platform. And they would like send us to literally the airport hotel. You look out the window and you literally see the tarmac. It was, and I used to have so many of those kinds of things because it was how to get as many people together in a location that was as cheap and easy as possible. I didn't learn or get to know anybody at those things.
Hmm. Right.
So anyway, I think that we all saw through the pandemic, the unfortunate pandemic, shined the light on things about how work can be.
Yeah.
But a few people want to shove the toothpaste back in the tube.
I mean, I think it's more comfortable for people that are leading companies with old school cultures. And
Yeah.
I think the pandemic presented an opportunity for companies to see things and do things in a different way. And I think some of them have embraced it, and then others don't really know how to function in this new reality. So to me, it almost feels like they're regressing and sort of like, oh, we need to go back to, you know, that time and space where we felt like we were in control.
Yeah, it's safety to them or something, right?
Yeah, and I don't think the current economy is helping because, of course, it's this feeling of, oh no, are we being as productive as we possibly can be? And, all of that. So then I think it's almost jumping in the what is the Back to the Future, right? It's like we're jumping in
The DeLorean.
yeah, we're jumping in the
Right.
DeLorean and trying to like revisit the past and
Yeah.
pretend it's current,
Yeah.
but I don't think it's gonna fly.
There's other ways that I don't even know about yet of doing these things that will have a great outcome for the workers and for the companies and, you know, for the workplace stories instead of writing horrible things about how a guy gets left, on the mountains of Colorado or
Exactly.
just the ill will.
And I think what it really highlights in my mind is that a brand actually starts at the top and then with the culture. And so I think really what this is highlighting is that, your culture is sort of the nucleus of the brand. The brand is built on the culture. And if you try to do it the other way around, then you're going to have
Mhm.
a lack of coherence or consistency, right? It's going to feel incongruent. And I think that those kinds of weird team building activities can not only backfire in terms of the culture and then eventually the brand, but also could have a really bad PR implication. So I think that's really where we net out with that one. Thank you so much for tuning in for the PR Wind Down podcast.
And thank you to Gini for a great interview.
Remember, you can submit your own agency stories and questions and share a show with your friends and colleagues. And if you leave us a rating, it will help us reach new listeners like you. Can't wait to wind down with you again next time.
We can't.
Beat you.
That might have been our best one, though.
It was really funny.